Mr. Ebbin.
I certainly do. Last year we increased the capital available from Pell Grants, federal Pell Grants, only $85 to a $5,730 level. That's not enough to keep up with the cost of college education. We need to not only lower the interest on student loans, but increase the capital for grants. And I would support Senator Warren's bill to have interest for student loans the same as the rate that the Federal Reserve charges banks for loans. So that's some of what we need to do. But we also need to support programs like the one I supported and when I was on the Education Committee in the House of Delegates to provide matriculation agreements from two-year colleges to four-year colleges with guarantees of admission based on certain performance.
Thank you. Mr. Levine.
Well, anyone who's talked to me one-on-one knows that this is the issue that I usually bring up first. College education, higher education, has gone up 6 times in the last 30 years. That's triple after inflation. The real cost has tripled. And of course we need to lower student loans. We need to lower the student loan rate, the way Elizabeth Warren talks about. Of course we need to do that. Of course we need to provide more aid. Both of those things cost more money. I think that money is well spent. I think the government should spend $20 billion off the cost of students. However, we also have to think outside the box. This is something that my boss, Brian Frank, always did. How can you find a way to find something that Republicans will pass? Here's something we could do that could lower education costs by 1/3 to 1/2, and Republicans are likely to sign on. I can get it done in my first year. What you do is you reallocate funds that already exist. That's why it doesn't cost anything. That's why Republicans like it. You take money away from the for-profits and you give it to 4-year and 2-year nonprofits that lower their rates rather than increase their rates. Now you have a battle among colleges who get so much money from the federal government to see who can lower their rates. And then they have to sign a deal with the federal and state government to keep their costs at the rate of inflation. This is how Canada keeps its healthcare drug costs down. We can do the same thing in education. It's outside the box, it's creative, and I'm ready to work with Elizabeth Warren and get it passed.
Thank you. Mr. Beyer.
I hope you saw the Washington Post article today on how students with college debt have lower credit scores. After the Great Recession, it's more difficult for them to get home mortgages, and their home ownership is the lowest it's been in decades and decades. I very much support the idea that not only should students pay the same interest rate that banks do, which is not very much, it should be 0. I mean, this is an important national investment in our future. These are workers who will always have jobs. And I agree with my good friend Mark that we need to think outside the box. And one thing that I have been interested in for years is the idea of universal service. Let's bring the 18 to 19-year-olds back to teach in the difficult places where you can't attract teachers, to care for the old elderly citizens, to care for those with disabilities, to invest in the poverty that we do not need to have as a trade-off for free education.